Hello everyone. Welcome to our last Hub Talk in 2021. Our talk will be called Architecture 2022. We'll speak about the aspects of the architecture moving forward, managing change, how the latest innovations and digital trends impact the practice of architecture, what mindset architects need to adopt to stay ahead of the trends. I'm glad today to have with me like a moderator, Martin Borel. Our guests and speakers are Dr. Kas Osterios, architect Dalal Farhat, architect Samuel Sairi, and architect and interior designer Irshad Jalal. Before starting, I want to remind everyone that our talk will be recorded. Please just abide by these simple rules. Everyone need to be in mute during the presentation of our speakers. You can just engage in the chat. Then after the presentation, we will allow everyone to, we will read the question through the chat, or if you want to just walk in, just raise your hand and we will give you the speech. I think I'll speak about Martin. Martin is the operation manager at Untitled Qatar consulting and multidisciplinary engineering consultancy firm. He has a strong focus on sustainability. He joined the business in 2016 and was prior that working for more than 12 years in the hotel event industry. I want to also thank Elot Khan for supporting us in the last event, Beam Qatar 2021. And I think we are good. Martin, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you very much, Slim, and thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you very much for being part of that very amazing panel today and being the moderator. So I would like to welcome everybody who is just as well joining in, and I would like to welcome everybody for the talks which we're going to have today, which are all related to Architecture 2022. I would like to welcome and thank as well our panelists who are with us today, and I would like to just quickly introduce who do we have with us, our esteemed panelists today. So let me start with Mr. Kas. Mr. Kas Osterios is an innovator, a writer and educator, and practicing designer, leading the innovation studio ONL, which is Osterios and Lennart, which he runs together with his partner in life and business, visual artist Iona Lennart. Osterios has been professor from practicing digital architecture at the TU Delft from 20 to 2016, and professor at Qatar University from 2017 to 2019. Currently external consultant for the NPR funded research project Qatar Robotic Printing. The fusion of art and architecture on a digital platform is the leading theme of the design studio ONL. Established in 1989. Kas Osterios is currently writing a book, The Component, a personal odyssey into another normal, to be published earlier this year. Please welcome with me, Mr. Kas. Next, I would like to introduce Dalal, very close friend and colleague as well of us. So Dalal is an architect with over 30 years of international experience in the architectural practice, master planning, design, and project management. Dalal has successfully delivered a diverse scope of complex projects, including mixed-use, commercial, residential, public, government, and heritage, as well as urban planning and design, restoration, and traditional projects. Dalal is founder and partner at Half K Architects and Designers. She is also partner at Constal, looking to help drive digital construction into the future. Constal is a platform designed to help top construction industry talent and clients collaborate, communicate, and help each other grow to new heights. Welcome, Dalal. Next, I would like to introduce Dr. Samir El-Sayari, a professor of architecture and international awarded architect. Dr. El-Sayari is a progressive architect who believes in the hidden values of his roots and works in rethinking those values to deliver them to the future generations. Dr. El-Sayari also has a special passion for outer space architecture and extreme architectural design solutions. He has gained over 40 awards in 4 different continents, delivered public talks all over the world, trying to raise awareness to our contemporary pressing challenges and offering solutions to them through architecture. Please welcome as well, Mr. Samir El-Sayari. Last but not least, I would like to introduce Mr. Irshad Jalil. Irshad is an entrepreneur. He is a co-founder and CEO of both AI Tech Lab and Skystruct. AI Tech Lab is a software development firm that specializes in software, web, and app development, as well as VR and AR. Skystruct is a new construction management ERP system that maximizes project coordination and efficiency across construction projects. Irshad and his team has delivered projects for large corporations in VR and AR around architectural, industrial, and gaming. Please as well welcome Mr. Irshad. Great. That's so much for the introduction. Let's dive directly in and let's get some questions rolling. Maybe, Mr. Kars, maybe I can just start with you. Sorry, my mic is just staying off.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, I have to move the room I'm sitting in right now is with light detectors, as we are sustainable. So that's why I'm sitting a little bit in the dark right now. So I'm sorry for that.
Well, it looks like you're hovering about a jungle.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry about that. Great. That's when you're working for engineering consulting company, which is focusing on sustainability, and then you're sitting in the dark at some point. Great. Mr. Kars, let's talk a little bit about parametric design and robotic production. And let's talk a little bit about latest design projects. How do you think how they relate to parametric designs, robotics, and interactive architecture?
Well, that's actually 2 different fields, but they share the same basis. I think our work really started, our parametric and robotic work really started in 1997, or actually a bit earlier, but that was the first realized project, the Saltwater Pavilion in the Netherlands. And there we found out that actually when you make these 3-dimensional designs, these plastic volumes, smoothly shaped volumes, that simple modeling is actually no more enough. Building information modeling was something we already did, but then even building information modeling falls short at a certain moment to connect to the production machines. So we found out that we actually should design rules for the design, rule-based, parametric, because then you can work with variables, different values in the same formula. So we started with setting up rules through a script. In that time it was Autolisp routine. These days you use other programs to actually describe painfully exact the positions of each possible point in relation to their neighboring components of the project, and then send these data directly to the machine. So that we found out in 1997. These days, this is almost common knowledge, using Grasshopper, Rhino Grasshopper, and send some data to use 3D printer at home. It's the same principle. So basically, you don't design a shape and then later or ask other people to find out how to make it. No, you, in the design process, you really anticipate how each unique component will be produced by CNC machines, computer numerical controls. And that has led us to a design attitude, which is a personal choice, of course, how to do that, to design components that are all part of the same family and actually describe the whole project by variation, by local, well, not so much additions, but local variations, local specifications from that one single parametric design concept. And that works really well. And then you can make complex volumes for very competitive prices. So that makes us a bit different from other people, other architects that use this language of fluidity, because in our projects we were managed to actually make them for normal price, for standard price. So that is non-standard architecture for standard prices. And that we kept up doing. And the most recent project we have proposed, that is a project in Qatar. We call it the Seven Daughters Project because it's a monument for feminism in Qatar. So very appropriate these days, I think, because female power is on the rise in Qatar, and we wanted to actually celebrate that, reinforce that. I designed this together with a team of Qatar-based designers. Yeah, two of them I knew from Qatar University. They were my students at Qatar University. That is Hen Gamal and Yamama Al-Saloom. And I also worked with Yasmin Al-Kassaoune, and she's an architect from Jordan and now works in the USA. And of course, I worked together with my wife, Ilona, for the sculpture, because basically it's a huge sculpture of 120 meters high. And it incorporates all the elements of parametric design and robotic production. So for an introduction, I think this describes properly what we are doing.
All right, great. Thank you very much for that. Let me just go ahead, and I'm just following my screen right now. Actually, Irshad, you're the next one right now on the screen. That's every time. Interesting way to go forward, isn't it? Irshad, may I can just open the floor a little bit to you, what you are doing, and why actually architects and industry professionals need to know about what you're doing and what actually is the use of AR and VR.
Great, wonderful question. So a little bit of what I'm doing right now, two parts to it. One is Skystruck. So we've created a construction management ERP system whereby which all stakeholders in a project are able to coordinate and communicate, similar to Aconex and Procure, but this is something more intuitive for the Middle East, as we have studied the market over here and come up with a solution that best fits it. And we're looking to move this system into the blockchain and introduce smart contracts for activities and so on and so forth. So there is a lot of great accountability and process, and it's a very, very fast system to be utilized. I mean, there was a study that was done by McKinsey & Company, one of the world's best consultancy companies, in 2018, that said that if the world of construction were to eliminate, to improve their communication and efficiency by just 1.6%, this could lead to a world of $1.7 trillion of savings immediately. And that's what we wanted to do, like introduce a system where we which work could be streamlined a lot more faster and thus reduce the real build time for projects. Apart from this, in our AI Tech Lab, we do deal with augmented reality and virtual reality. In augmented reality, it is the ability of bringing 3D objects into the real space. Since iPhone released their iPhone 11 cameras, the Pro versions and such, they came with a more well-defined LiDAR camera that reads spaces a lot better. And now if you were, let's say, an interior designer and you have objects that you would want to go around spaces, bring it on in 3D and see how it look and fit in a real world space, you can do that right now. In fact, IKEA has done a great job with their application for selling their products in homes so much better, not just browsing the catalog or visiting. You're in your own home, you take a look at the entire catalog, and then you bring out their products and see how it fits in your apartment, and then great. We've also worked with a leading paints company to create a VR app on their own, which, sorry, an AR app of their own, whereby which you'd be able to focus around the walls in a simulated environment and test out all their paints and colors in different lightings and settings. And that's also a really great example on AR. In virtual reality, you got the entire experience of bringing your AutoCAD files and everything of the buildings and the concepts and the spaces, from buildings to urban developments, and have great walkthroughs virtually from people all around the world can visit this now immediately without having to travel. And that has such a great immersive experience to educate, inform, entertain, and capture their attention, that this is great in the art of storytelling when it comes to selling and convincing and modifying, as well as coordinating and working on projects together. The other part what I also wanted to talk about was how there is now the entire world of the metaverse that's coming in with VR, and how can this interest or influence the world of architecture and such. Honestly, it's a huge booming opportunity for architects to get involved with the world of the metaverse. I think you could see a new generation of architects meeting gaming developers to create a hybrid solution whereby which they'd be able to transform their ideas into the world of the metaverse. Everyone over here I know has wonderful ideas and systems in how to design their projects, but sometimes are faced by the limitations of the physical world, but not in the world of architecture, in the metaverse. The metaverse is a term that has been just introduced right now, since Zuckerberg came out with it and saying we're going to change Facebook into Meta. But what it is actually a multi-level gaming platform, whereby in which you have open world concepts that are able to now be merged together and then have people coordinate and travel and experience and build all together. It is literally a point where in which we're going to see society move to the next digital era. For architects, what does this mean is that your projects can be influenced in the upcoming world in the metaverses by game developers and such, because there is such a huge need now for development. In fact, the industry, it was about 48 billion in 2020, and now it's expected to grow to 828 billion by 2028. It is wonderful, it's exciting, it's fun.
But Irshad, it's not really new, is it, Metaverse?
No, the term is new.
Because we have had Second Life, we had Alpha World 20 years ago. So basically, it's slowly building up. And now, of course, when Zuckerberg is propagating it, it's gaining momentum. I can see that. But basically, there's nothing new.
No, the term metaverse is a new popular term. That's what I said. Because previously, what this was just multi-level gaming platforms and open world concepts. Ready Player One was the first movie that I truly saw the explanation what the potential behind the metaverse could be. Before that, you got the Matrix. It's the same simulation in this. And what is being asked right now by a lot of game developers is to bring in architects as well to come up with great architectural concepts and spaces that can be utilized in this world. And
I'll give you one suggestion for building those worlds. Something that always amazed me, that in these virtual worlds and metaverses, there's always this ground floor level. And basically in digital space, there is nothing like ground floor. It's very artificial concept to be connected to a ground floor level. Basically everything is floating, and upside down is, you can reverse up and down, left and right. So it's much more universal in its essence than how it is used. So my suggestion for architects would be, leave gravity out of the picture for a moment and create these much more spatial, really spatial environments, which may appeal to summer, I think, because that is really outer space. There's no such thing as gravity. And I think that really would enrich these environments.
It is true. I mean, that's the main thing. You are not bounded by the physical limitations of reality here in the physical plane. You're able to come up with whatever you fancy in terms of architectural spaces, and then have that implemented in the world.
Yeah, but I think we as architects, we have a task to avoid the banal, because what you really see in metaverses, or the other term in virtual worlds, is that they use very banal, very common language of what the space can be. And that is really something we as architects can work on, to have this much more imaginative.
Right. Great. Thank you, guys. Let's, Mr. Kass, you already brought Summer a little bit into the picture right now. So let's maybe as well hear a little bit from Dr. Al-Sayadi. Let's talk a little bit about the fourth industrial revolution, or actually we are already in the fourth industrial revolution. So what do you think right now is next? What is coming right now next after that from an architectural perspective and from an architectural educational perspective?
Well, thank you, Martin, for this question. It's a very interesting question. Let me first elaborate a little bit about Dr. Skass' remarks and Mr. Irshad about the virtual environment. Actually, I'm specialized in the relationship between four kind of different spaces. The mental space, which is built inside your mind totally, and the virtual space, real space, and the outer space. And I can relate that the virtual space and the outer space are so much, with the mental space, there is a very deep analogy between them. Architecture is evolving, and we are, as well as architects, are evolving. We are bringing new notions to our profession. The hyperlinks, or the concept of the hyperlinks, you don't need any physical barriers. You don't need doors. You don't need windows. You just need a click, and you can travel through dimensions. You can travel through time. You can travel. This is the mere concept of metaverse. Also, you don't have gravity. You define your own gravity. You define your own space. You define your own personal space and continuum. But also, this is something that we have in outer space. So just the one smaller remark before popping up into your question. What we have learned from outer space, that we can use really the metaverse, or of course it is not a new in terms of technology, but it is new in terms of economy. It will bring us new opportunities. It will open us a new commerce and new maybe professions. But anyway, it's so much related into reality through the outer space, which is merely the same. You are freed from so much barriers. You are freed from dimensions like gravity, even like the concept of the hyperlink is so much similar to the airlocks. But anyway, this might take us to a very long talk. So let me elaborate about the fourth industrial revolution, which I think will be in so much interesting and triggering and evoking a very fruitful discussion. Well, the fourth industrial revolution, which is defined as the digital transformation, of course, it carries a lot of notions, and I think we are also evolving in this revolution. It is the first time that only in 240 years we have started our first industrial revolution, and here we are talking about the fourth. And in just a couple of years, we will be talking about the fifth industrial revolution. I'll be coming to that later. But let me elaborate. Just in 200 years, we have succeeded in advancing from wooden wagons pulled by horses into the stealth fighters, and we have even landed on moon. This is a huge endeavor. But what I can confidently say that we will reach a point in time that the technologies and advancement that will occur in the morning will be obsolete at evening. This is coming. But for the fourth industrial revolution, yes, it is the pace of technology is rapid. It's so quick. But 2 or 3 main really game changers that will occur in the future. One of them maybe is the AI. And what I mean with the AI, it's the artificial neural networks, the advancement that occurred from 2012 to 2014. And while we are speaking now, it's evolving. We are waiting for the super AI, the self-conscious machines. This will be a turning point. And this, in my opinion, of course, this couldn't be really achieved until we will reach the first physical quantum computing, the one with the superposition, the one with the endless possibilities. I think with that, we can really trespass all dimensions. Dimension is defined as the degree of freedom. We can trespass all dimensions. We can open to the 10th dimension, to parallel worlds, maybe, to parallel opportunities, and that will impact our profession. Can you imagine architect working with a quantum computing, with a metaverse, and can literally be an operator, and you can operator who is talking to a downloaded conscious of Einstein and Sir Norman Foster or Zaha Hadid, the passed away Zaha Hadid, and they are fused together in one mind in a quantum computing with a superposition or one open solutions, and he can achieve. I think we are on the verge of new human endeavor, human race. Maybe we will be evolving with that. But anyway, that's what I'm expecting in the fourth industrial revolution: the quantum computing, the super AI, and the merging of all of those technologies into one body. And I think it's not very far away.
Great. Thank you very much, Samir. Let me get Dalal as well right now in here. Let's go a little bit a step back. Okay, so we have been talking right now about so much about metaverse and all of
I want to actually talk about the transformation, how the architecture work, how the architecture design transform in this, all of this methodologies, all of these steps. It's maybe I have to be in the first, to talk about the past, what's happening. Actually, like maybe 80 years ago or more, when the client or any investor want to make any project, he was looking for like a renowned architect. He was traveling to his place and meeting him and showing him the map of the his site and what he's looking for, the design brief and his goals on his project, and discuss with him the fees and the time and the budget of the project, all of this. Maybe it took these meetings several times, maybe several travels, and maybe it took more than 1 month to make the work order for the project. Then, okay, the architect start his project and do it. And usually in that time, they are doing the project with only the concept, because sometimes they don't have the full data of the place, the location of the project. They don't know the regulation, they don't know the requirement and all of this. And then they transfer it to the client and he pay for them. And that's it, this stage closed. Then he transfer it to another local architect consultant and start to deal with coordination and all of this, submitting to government, taking approvals, starting to contact the contractors after he finished all the stages of the. So this, it took more than maybe 8 months. Then the client can see how it's appearing. And during this, if they need any coordination, or maybe it's having impact on the concept, so it depends on their contract, on the client contract with the main architect, if he can interfere later or not, maybe it's more costly or not. So that's the procedure before. And then like maybe 20 years ago or more, we start to work a little bit. I cannot say full remotely, but we can say we are the consultant for a client here in Qatar, and he is looking to deal with Jean Nouvel in France. So, okay, we go with him and start to ask him for like a concept or something like that. Start to work remotely and through emails or internet. Maybe we contact him by phone, something like that. It's more easier and faster. And we can also, of course, assign sub-consultants from everywhere. We can get sub-consultant from UK for like, let's say, lighting design, for signage and wayfinding from other country. Maybe I like the interior designer to be from Singapore. So all of this. And okay, the main consultant is here, and he making this connections, and he is responsible for all of this, and he have his own architects with him, and start dealing with all of these stakeholders. Now, like maybe 5 years ago until maybe now, and working in one platform since more than maybe 5 years also. We are working in one platform, like what Arshad mentioned about Constructware and Econex and all of these platforms. We have a project manager for the project, and he is starting to deal with the consultant everywhere in the world, maybe in South America, maybe in Europe and North America, something like that. And of course, in one platform, we all working in one time. It's on a cloud. Actually, I was working with the international company, Canadian company, and we were like 4 branches in Canada, one in Vancouver. So we have like 12 hours different between us, between Qatar and them, and in Toronto 6 hours, and in Manitoba like 10 hours, something like that. And we have here in Qatar. And if we have a fast track project, that's what we are saying, efficient work and fast track and very faster project. If we have a fast track project, we are connecting each other, every team. Okay, I have 8 hours, I finish my design, it's on the cloud. Okay, continue the others. And of course, now we have all the approvals, methodology is organized, and this is the issue where we are saying that the best technology here, when we are saying we have Constructware or Econex or clouds or sharing MDR or something like that. So we have something to control all the documents, and it's transparent, and it's with the writing. Everything is with the writing. So everyone reach to one step, something like that. It's similar to the BIM, of course. It's part of, we can say it like something like some steps of the managing through BIM. And through that, we can finalize the project really in faster and efficient, and with the value engineering. This is what I want to say, because all stakeholders are with you in the same platform. So in case you are assigning some materials, the client is there to watch and tell you, okay, this material is expensive for me. The contractor is there also, because now the projects are different. It's the type of project is not like before. The design, pre-contract and contract and post-contract. Now it is like design and build, like PPP, this private and public partnership. So we have all the stakeholders who want to design, who want to approve, who want to construct, all in one platform. So it is easier, but there is of course, disadvantage for this. I want to say it maybe later to discuss it. Yeah.
Perfect, great. Dalal, it moves a little bit into the next question, and I would like to actually incorporate that right now with Omaima's question in the chat box. If I just use Omaima right now, she's saying herself that she's an old school architect who loves her pencil and paper. And how do you start right now the step into this new world? And maybe I would just like to address that question to Mr. Kaas. So how do you, what kind of advice do you have, for example, to architects and even students on how to prepare for this new move right now, the new move to 2022, the new move to, as you mentioned before, the Metaverse and so on? So what kind of tips you would give these kind of people?
Well, okay, let's be very practical. Now, pencil and paper, well, no one has a problem with pencil and paper, so you don't have to be ashamed of that. Everyone uses pencil and papers. I do too.
Okay.
But if you step into the metaverse, well, it depends on that environment, how you can build actually in that environment, how you can build your avatar, how you can build yourself, how you can build your environment. And usually these environments already provide you with the tools and they are quite user-friendly to use. So what you would need actually is some knowledge of how to build spatial worlds in 3 dimensions.
Yeah.
So you need to know the basic things only, I think, for stepping into it. But to become an expert, no, that's a different thing. Because what you really want to do is coding. What you really want to do is that you actually can write code and that the code has some effect in that environment. But that is more expert knowledge. But to start, you can start right away, no problem. Don't leave your pen and pencil at home because you can still use it.
Yeah, I want to infer in this actually. Yes, all this technology is tools which is adding for us. But from the beginning, when you have any idea, you can think. Any architect actually, when you start thinking in something, he is handling the pencil in his hand and start to imagine how to do it in his book.
But you shouldn't stick to it. You really, I think for students, it's really important to learn coding. I think otherwise you will fall behind the developments.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'd like to also add a little bit more onto that. Dr. Kaas, you were absolutely spot on explaining that. In fact, there are 2 main, if not 3 main elements towards how the projects move from architectural concepts into the world of the metaverse. The first is the entire visual design and build. Everything is done first on pen and paper, scratch out the ideas, can bring it to life. And then you have your programs like Maya, 3ds Max, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And the next part is actually where we turn it into code, right? So there are platforms like Unity that is what's being used right now. And what would normally happen is, like, let's say you as an architect, if you don't know how to code right now, you'd be with a team that takes your models and then implements it in code for the metaverse and such. And the only third element to it is that there would be a database that is the link between everything in order to, let's say, if you want to have financial transactions in the metaverse, for it to all come into play. So you got your visual designs, you got your coding to embed it into it, and then finally the database to manage the transactions.
Yeah. I would like to add to that. So as an architect, if you have the coding done by someone else, because that is usual practice, so you have your model and others do the coding for you, then you miss a chance to be creative in coding. Because coding is, well, let's put it in a very simple way, it's writing. And you write your story while coding. You do it while doing it. So it's not something that is only a technical thing. No, it's a very much a creative thing. And once you understand that coding is creative, I think you get the point, and then you can step into that metaverse much faster.
Well, if I may add a small also remark to Umaima's questions. So you are talking about two different notions that I would like to elaborate separately. First one is the quantum computing, and the other one is the use of the pencil, which is the other hand, or the other side of the concept. So it's like the extreme technology or the extreme future with the extreme deep past. So having a pencil is totally fine, but the advancement of the human computer in the human system interface, if I might say, starting from the Paleolithic age, when human beings started making art using colored stones on the caves. So that doesn't really deprive them from creativity or from innovation, and turning to the feathers and turning to the wooden made or bamboo maybe kind of pencils or stylus, and then to the pencil and later on the digital kind of pencils. The point is, it's not the pencil, it is the precision skills that we possess that we can use. So it's all about our human system interface. But elaborating on this part, I do think that this is core value in our human being, the creativity and the innovation. We can use any kind of precision tool, something like the pencil, maybe something like a pen cutter, maybe something like a digital kind of pencil that would act as maybe an air mouse in the metaverse. Imagine if you can sculpt in a three-dimensional manner with your pencil in the air. It's the same idea. Mm-hmm. And turning to the other notion that you have mentioned, the quantum computing. Well, it's too early right now to operate on a quantum computing because we don't really have a physical quantum computers. But what we can prepare for it today, there are like tons and huge number of courses that are given in something called the digital leadership or the AI leadership, or even in the quantum computing leadership. Leadership is how can you manage this kind of technology if it is present, if it is available. And I do think that it's just a steps away. Maybe in a few next years, it will be available, stepping into the millennial. I do tell my students continuously that we have three different revolutions in architectural profession and IE education. The first one at the end of the 90s, when we started to leave the pencils and the T-squares and started turning to the computers, and that revolutionized really all of the profession. The second one, turning from the digital technology or the digital CAD, from the notion of the computer-aided drafting that had turned into computer-aided design, and then later on to the BIM technology. This is the second revolution, turning to a whole different mindset, which is the building information modeling. And the third revolution is the introduction of the quantum computing and the AI. And I do insist that both of these two notions will come together. The super AI, that is the most, you have three levels of AI systems, the most advanced.
I think there's something wrong.
The internet.
Quantum computing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry,
Yeah.
if I'm taking so long.
Last couple of seconds. So maybe you just want to repeat. You just have been talking about the three different AI.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I think the connection, there's something. So I don't really to keep you long. So that was just a small addition that I wanted to give you as an advice. It's the courses of the digital leadership, the AI leadership, the quantum computing leadership, just to make you prepared for the next generation. Thank you.
Still, Samar, I think there's an issue about the interface with the computer. The mouse, for example, is a lousy thing. No, it's a lousy way of interfacing with the computer programs. So I think there's also an urgent need for better interfaces with our virtual environments. And it's not only skills as coding, but it should also come from the other side. And that actually, so I fully agree with your point of being precise, but you can also be precise in gestures. You can be precise in words, in language. And I think this is underestimated in the current interfaces, that we can actually use our natural abilities to communicate, but then in relation to digital equipment. I think that really needs development, needs better ideas.
Great. Thank you very much for that. Any questions from the audience as well? If you want to raise your hand and maybe unmute yourself, we are more than happy. We still have some time to go. Otherwise, I will just throw another question into the group right now.
Otherwise, I have a question on for Dalal and Irshad. It's about collaborative design.
Right.
Because basically, what we want to do in our most successful projects is when you collaborate from scratch, from the very first beginning, from the very first idea. And then that idea step by step specifies in more concrete solutions for anything, for the structure, for the climate performance, for anything basically. But you need to work together. So Irshad, for example, you say you have a platform, a construct.
It's a construction management ERP.
Yeah, but can it be used? Because for me, that would be something I'm interested in, and I'm also developing systems for that. It's a project called Participator, which is a platform for participatory design, where you can set your goals, you can even set your budget, you can set your performances, but you are in it together. And the expert designer is an expert, but also the user and the project developer and the engineer, they are experts in their field, and they can work together in the same model. That is what I really want to reach, this participator project. So what do you think about it? Is that feasible for projects, for example, Dalal, the projects you have, would it be feasible to really start from scratch?
Okay, now starting from scratch, we have the concept should come from the architect, and the architect have to have all the data and the information from other discipline. Now, of course, we create this platform.
Well, sorry to interrupt, that I don't agree with, because then you give the architect the leading role. Okay. Which I don't think is fair, because the leading role should actually be in the hands of everyone.
It should be what? Sorry?
In the hands of everyone.
Basically introducing a DAO system to the world of architecture.
Okay, and that's why I am saying from the beginning, like 80 years ago, it was by the architects, 100%. And even if there is changes in the concept, they go back to him and ask him. But now the architect have full information in his side, but not specialists in everything, but at least have information that, okay, the engineering have to interfere here, and of course we have a project manager who can, you cannot leave it open without one focal point who can control even the accessibility for each one, because you don't have to keep the accessibility open for everyone all the time. In real projects, that's what I am saying. In my experience during real projects, you cannot open it every time for all people. So you need interface between all specialists in some areas. Of course, coordination, we can call it. Okay, one platform and one cloud, one file. Everyone is putting his information, and there is peer review there through. I think it's what you are saying is different than what I am thinking. What we are doing, it's through MDR, like, okay, this is comments came from client, this comments came from consultant, this is comment from contractor, something like that, and with date, and okay, what's the decision taken after that, it's clear, and then we can put it in the drawing. But
Okay, so what I really mean is that not only the architect has a vision, also the climate designer has a vision too. And what I really would hope for, that the climate designer would come with his vision from the very beginning and not wait for the architect to have a three-dimensional model or a vision, and that he would become subordinate to the vision of the architect, because the architect is not an expert in climate design.
okay.
The same for structural designers. I know there are very good structural designers at Hubble, etc. And they have their ideas, what is a very good and very sound and very effective and imaginative structure. They know. But in the current situation, they have to wait for the architect until there is something on the table, and then they can respond to it. So you get what I mean? I really would like to see a situation where all can express their visions, and that you have you combine them in a more smart and more intelligent model.
Okay, what you are saying that you are inside the mind of the architect. You have to because the creativity came from the architect. That's what I understand always.
For me, the architect is not on top of a pyramid.
Fine. Maybe that not the decision maker. Of course, it should at the end be by the client, but at least the architect have the one. He is the creativity. So the project I am talking about, the project not only scientific or functional project. I am talking about a piece of art. I am talking about something nice. Something. There is, some sense of sensitivity, of creativity. So I believe the architect have to create at least the concept, the main concept, and he have to have this experience that okay, this is the requirement of engineering. This is the requirement of the environment. This is the requirement of the government in that place. Maybe this is the requirement of the client. You have to understand all of this, even the budget of the project. But at the end, the creativity, you cannot stop the architect from creativity. No? You know what I mean? Okay.
May I just throw a question in there? And that's maybe as well for everybody. And I like as well the approach from Mr. Kras before, when it comes to coding and all these kind of creativity, to express creativity through coding. So I like to take a little bit the approach from Mrs. Samer related to AI, and everybody is talking about AI and talking about how it will develop. So how do you see the future of AI, and how do you see AI taking on that kind of creative part of that actually the architect, as Dalal right now is talking about, that maybe that kind of part is taken over by artificial intelligence from a creative perspective? How do you see that develop?
Yeah, well, you are talking about a very serious issue, and it raises a high debate. As a man of science, there are, according to my readings, of course, there are 16 different existential risks. 10 of them are anthropogenic, which are man-made, and only 6 which are non-anthropogenic or the natural causes. 10 of the anthropogenic existential risks, one of them is the AI, artificial intelligence. So yeah, there are some issues in the AI to overtake and play like God, or play like our controllers. So there is, of course, we are maybe familiar a little bit with the singularity theory, which will reach a point where the human brain can cope with the AI. But the most interesting part is the post-singularity. We cannot really live today without our mobile phones. We cannot really live today without airplanes, without cars, without TVs, without electricity. According to Kardashev scale of civilization, the more energy we consume, the more civilized we get. So I do think that we will reach a certain time that the AI will be our facilitator, our tool to reach new goals, new dimensions, new endeavors. It will make us maybe design better. We can, in terms of quantity and quality at the same time. So I do think that it's this word is not created for the machines, it's created for human beings, and we are keep innovating. You know, I'm so much interested in Mr. Kass really talk when he talks about the climate designer or the structural designer. Yes, the innovation is not a monopoly. The innovation and creativity is not a monopoly only for the architect. We are paradigm shifting from the era of the master architect who is doing everything, and we are living today in the collaborative team. Even we are so much enhanced with the BI and technology, which also maybe this is a little bit funny, but I can say that we are shifting from the architecture monarchy of the architect into the architectural technocrat, where all of the technicians and all of the different specializations are getting into our profession. But what I'm really a little bit scared of is the architectural anarchies, when everyone loses control. And you can, I know it's a little bit funny, but it's shifting from the monarchy to democracy, and then realizing that democracy is not enough because the client maybe is not a little bit specialized. So we would prefer the technocracy, but really we are on the verge of the architectural anarchy when everything goes in random and chaos, and we can losing control. The AI will not be losing control. It is so much far away that we fear the kind of the super AI. There are three kind of AI: the narrow AI, the general AI, and the super AI. The narrow AI, it's like Siri. You have it on your iPhone today. So it's helping you in facilitating your life, making things easier. The general AI is a much more higher endeavor, but I do think that it is a steps away in the next decade, maybe, or a couple of decades. But the one which we are talking about, the scary one, the existential risk AI, it is the super AI, where there's self-conscious machines who can take decisions on our behalf. That is, yeah. And that is what maybe a little bit in science fiction,
Yeah,
It is. You're bringing back Marvel's Avengers #2, where Ultron comes in.
Well, yeah. Let me elaborate on that also. We are maybe familiar with Jules Verne. Jules Verne, he's a science fiction writer. 160 years ago, he imagined of a huge metal barrel with the people being inside it, and it's immersed in deep sea. And just 160 years after his novel, we invented the submarine. He also thought about cannons being fired and shooting people to the moon. And just 160 years also, and we have made our Apollo mission 11, 1969, and we have landed on moon. So science fiction is not away. And please be aware that at this time, the pace of technology was so slow compared of what we have today. I mean, in a span of 25 years, if we will live according also to science, as I mentioned earlier, the technology that will evolve in the morning will be obsolete at the evening. So don't really consider it's a far away, but let's see. I'm interested. I'm so much interested and excited of what kind of advancement that I'm witnessing in this time.
I think that the kind of consciousness you were talking about is not the same consciousness as we have. And
it might be better.
Maybe that's the scary thing, that it becomes a sort of new species with their own form of consciousness and their own values almost, and which are maybe not completely logic for us, for ourselves, because we as people, we are more irrational, probably more emotional. Of course, you can program AI to
that is the most important. Sorry for interruption, but we have the upper hand by being emotional. If machines are using just their brain, they might wipe us because we might be the disease of this planet. This whole theory. But being emotional is something important.
But you could program AI, and still we do then the programming. You could program AI to become irrational and bizarre, to do something unexpected. But somehow that AI program needs data, so it needs
memory.
It needs to mine data from somewhere. And I'm not sure.
Yeah, if I may elaborate,
advanced AI could find something that we didn't actually prepare for them.
There is a very interesting experiment done by the Facebook, and it was just shut down later on when they started making two machine learning devices start connecting and talking to each other. And just in a few minutes, they have advanced that they have invented new logic language, and we lost control. The interesting part is that there is a difference between the general AI and the super AI. In the general AI, we could document and write everything that Einstein had made in his life, even his own recordings, he's intelligent, and then let the machine deduce and understand and predict what kind of solutions that Einstein might bring in a problem that he didn't face in his time. This might be a general AI. And now imagine this: if we have merged the brain or if we have trained a machine all of the 70 years or 80 years of Einstein through all of his lifespan, we are documenting all of his gestures, all of his thoughts, all of his intellectual contribution to a machine, and then start to develop. You can have copies of Einstein in everywhere in the world to solve our problems. But the most interesting part is merging two kind of brains, like the past Zaha Hadid and Einstein. Can you imagine being an architect and at the same time being a physicist? And then later on, if you would like to have something like a medical facility, having a pioneer architect with an environmental agenda and at the same time a medical expert. So we will witness a new era. And I do believe with the 5G and the 6G, it will be a huge contribution to us, where you can hire someone from South Korea, a professional constructing builder that can execute something on the other part with a post-singularity, having his own decision merged with the decisions of the AI. So AI is evaluating the really situation on site, on field, but with the experience of this construction builder. I do think it is like the car or the jet. It will help us to reach new levels of advancements. But it will not overtake our role. I don't believe that.
I would like to add on a little bit more on what you were saying, Dr. Samer.
Yeah.
For sure, we're going to see AI come to a point where it could be the new God in its own world, being able to think on a higher conscious level compared to human beings, evaluate, understand, and then try to control and protect us as if we were their children. But there's also the advancement of man over time, right? We might see ourselves moving towards, we're already so digitalized compared to our ancestors with our mobile phones and our laptops and such. The next 50 or 100 years can see us move even forward. I mean, in another 50 years, 50% of our entire life is going to be on the metaverse. Communicating, entertainment, exercising, you name it, whatever Facebook's Meta had displayed in terms of solutions, that's just peripheral ideas into.
It's just a start, yeah. It's triggering the start.
Elon Musk did an announcement on where he's trying to input chips into the human brain and connect the mind to the computer. This is where, let's say, now you're creating minds like Einstein and so much. We're moving towards the matrix. We'd be able to download information, languages, skill sets, abilities to go hand in hand along with the AI systems. Let's say, if anything, we could see that we might even be living with an AI system later to control our lives in a much more better and smarter format, to work with technology that will be required of a mental consciousness to compute with.
Yeah, we are evolving with technology. I do believe that. But you know something, our skills are a little bit slowing down with the advancement of technology. You know, by car you are walking less, by the calculator you're calculating less, with even artificial sweeteners and artificial food you are healthier less. So that is the scary part. But I do believe, yes, I do agree that we will be living in the metaverse, especially with the 5G technology, where a surgeon in America might be operating a medical surgery from Africa. And that is some kind of a realistic metaverse where he can enter operation theater and start operating. And with the connection, the speed connection of the 5G and maybe the 6G later on, he can really do something that really is beneficial to us. You know, also the fourth industrial revolution, at the end and the start of the fifth industrial revolution, we have the NFT, non-fungible tokens, and the 3D printing and 3D technology merged with the metaverse, where now you can have your own closet on just a hard drive containing millions of gadgets, and you are printing whatever you'd like to print. Tens and thousands of buildings could be stored on your computer, and you can download whatever, and you can start operating and building also, and legalizing all of this by an NFT, having there will be some kind of a virtual commerce that could be popping up and stepping and jumping to our physical world, and vice versa. We could be also being scanned and scanning our children and scanning our families and entering this kind of metaverse. So the metaverse will be an interface between our real life, and I think it will be a new prosperous era. It's not just for fun.
Dr. Samar, what you are saying is correct, but even in working remotely from America to Africa about this surgery, you didn't say that, okay, this specialist, I don't need them anymore, and the machine is enough to work and to make the surgery. You need his mind. You need him. You need his interface.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, I agree. And
so
sorry.
Yeah, that's why I'm talking about the architecture. We still need the creativity from architecture. Okay, everywhere the technology what we are having now, and about the coordination and about working in one platform, in one metaverse, all of this. Okay, but still the creativity should come from someone and give us, okay, what's the concept of the project? But all the income from others are welcome to of course, elaborate the concept and make it more workable, and of course, do value engineering while we are working in one platform. In the same time, we are doing value engineering because we are not repeating the work. And in the same time, we are making it faster, and with also getting approval with the client because he is in our platform in the same time. So this is the idea. What maybe you are talking about 100 years more better. This is, I cannot imagine it in my mind.
If I may, this morning I was just watching a very nice video, and I have written some remarks that I would like to share with you. In 2012 or maybe 2014, I'm not very good with dates, but you know, there was a new technology that emerged. It's called the JAN, J-A-N, the Generative Adversarial Network, in 2014. It was designed for innovation, and we all witnessed this kind of Leonardo da Vinci kind of paintings that you can upload your image and then it could turn into this his own drawing style, or even it was evolved later on to the deep fake technology where you can just write a speech and make Obama talk on the speech, and we have maybe saw all of this video. That was the first generation of innovation in AI. Later on, the GPT-3 project that was rewriting text. You can just upload the text, and it will be rewriting this text, summarizing it, understanding it, and the interesting part, it might draw diagrams out of this text.
Actually, it's interesting in this context that in 2001, when I did my inaugural speech, I had this virtual friend. That was the program. It was called Virtual Friend. So what I did, I could type in text, and my virtual friend would actually say it. And it was very interesting. So my inaugural speech was a discussion between me and my virtual friend.
Yeah.
And I could actually also manipulate his head, looking at me, looking elsewhere, etc., by the mouse. And just by the mouse, I could moving him, looking at me. So when I was talking to him, he would look at me. When he was talking, I would look at him, etc. And that worked wonderfully well. So basically, why I'm saying this is, well, technology is not new again. Yeah, we know all that, but you have to use it as a designer.
Wisely.
You must think as a designer, whatever technology we are working with, if it's AI or robotics, whatever. Think as a designer, what can you do with it as a designer? Don't let others decide for you. That is basically the main thing.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Great. Thank you very much. I think we are coming a little bit to the end right now. But let me just ask one more question. Again, it's coming from Umaima. Where do we go? What is the ultimate goal actually? Will it be better architects? Will it be a better world? Will be sustainability as well a part of it? So it's a very big question, Umaima. Why are you having such complex questions right now over there? And the same as well. Another thing which you put in is, are we creating different levels of who have access to it. You know, when we say, okay, everything is very much in a world, it will be electricity driven, and will it be that people may not have access? So I know it's a big question, but maybe everybody can just give me a 30-second wrap up right now on where do we go?
Yeah, okay, where do we go? Okay, I wait for the others.
I'll go first with the most easiest one. I think it's efficiency and sustainability. Combined with these two, you're looking to contribute in projects that'll be good for the environment and sustainable living more on. And with efficiency, it's all about doing more with less. So with the solutions that are coming out, you'd be able to do a lot more. And this would only lead to an issue where, like, okay, you might not need that amount of resources that you did previously or currently in order to complete a project. And that's the only thing for, let's say, if the job market were to downsize on that, there is another new market that is coming, which is the Metaverse, that you'd be able to also find more work in.
Actually, I heard one time about virtual houses, that one time it will come and we will live in virtual houses, and this house is without walls, but you can control the privacy by virtuality, and you can control, of course, the climate, the weather, everything. You can control it virtual, but there is no house. I don't know how we will be feeling at that time, because 40 years ago or more, of course, more than that, 60 years ago, maybe, they were talking about vitamins, that it will be, you will substitute, it will be substituting the food. So you will not cook, you will not eat anything, you will just drop this and that's it. And of course, doesn't happen, because you are enjoying eating, you are enjoying cooking, you are enjoying decorating the house, sitting in the house, you are enjoying all of this. I don't know where we will go later. I cannot really imagine. I am afraid, I am scared. I scared from this, actually, when we are reaching this, how to control it. That's it.
Well,
should I? Okay, where do we go? I think you go where you want to go, basically. So it's not someone else who decides for you. It's something you decide for yourself. And I have two main points in that respect where I want to go, and I want to actually drag other people along with it. There's two main points. One is, I would say, yes, produce food, water, and energy as close as possible to where you live, where you consume it. Meaning that if you design a house, design the energy production with it, design the food production with it, and design the water production with it. You can produce water out of there. Of course, everyone should not do that individually, but also as a community and also as a city. So it's a shared responsibility. But I think that should be one of the main goals, actually, there we should go. The other one is produce only on command. So not for mass production, put it on the market and then throw half of it away again, but produce only on command. And when there is an explicit need for it, an individual need, a need of the neighborhood or a need of the state, can be anything, but there must be a very clear, concrete need for it. So these 2 points, I think that's where I would want to go.
Thank you.
well, yeah, I'll elaborate just in 30 seconds as requested. So, yeah, our human history had proven that we are balancing between the utopian and the dystopian scenarios. Maybe the writers give us the comparison, either or. It's not either or. We are working in both at the same time. When we invented nuclear energy, we used it in generating energy and in nuclear weapons. So I do believe, just in the last 10 seconds, that there are 3 posts that is inevitable: the post-scarcity, the post-carbon, and the post-singularity. We will be fusing with and evolving with technology. We are thriving with the post-scarcity. We are conquering our poverty and our problems and the post-carbon, and I think we will be conserving our planet. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. We are coming to an end for today. Unfortunately, I think we could have talked several hours more.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Several days.
It was very enlightening as well for me, as I'm not an architect. Thank you very much for that. I just would like to highlight one more thing. Kandil, actually, we have just launched a new website, which I just post right now into the chat group. And they will find as well quite a lot of more information of our current mission, which is over here, which is our Zero 2030 carbon vision, where Kandil is actually embarking into a long-term vision of only developing zero carbon neutral projects by 2030. So please have a look to find out more as well on that. Thank you very much to everyone. I'm handing back to Slim right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Thanks to all our speakers. It was a rich session. We gained a lot of information. I think I need to make a homework today to repeat. I shouldn't miss any of this information. I want to thank all our attendees. Again, our speakers, Martin. We are coming to an end, as Martin said. Good night and stay safe. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.